Hello everyone, welcome to a different kind of video today. I'm going to be showing you how to use a piece of software called VennCAD. VennCAD is free software from, that is, it costs nothing to use, from Venture Mouthpieces. Now, those who've spoken with me about the equipment that I sell on theetericbrass.com will know that I go to Venture Mouthpieces to have my Artiste and Legacy model mouthpieces made. For those who don't know anything about Venture, I would highly recommend that you take a look at this podcast here, episode 54 of the Trumpet Gurus Hang podcast, in which Doug McVeigh, the genius automator and trumpet player, mouthpiece designer, describes a lot of what you're going to see in this video today. He also describes all sorts of details pertaining to the effects of different mouthpiece specifications on your sound and maybe your ability to play efficiently in certain registers of the trumpet. We all know what that means. Shallow mouthpiece goes high notes. So apologies if the audio quality is a little lower today. It's definitely going to be different because I'm not using my Barclay mic. I've just got my old condenser out because I'm on a completely different computer. Everything is different. So I'm just going to start off by showing you the Venture website. So it's Ven with two N's, ture.mp. You can just hop on over and take a look at this. If we go to the top here where it says VennCAD, we can, this is where you would download the program. Now, I'm running this on Windows today. I do most of my video stuff on my Mac. In the studio. All the TCE talk stuff is recorded in the studio on my Mac. And believe it or not, I'm not really a fan of either operating system. As it happens, I'm a Linux nerd. But although I can make the Windows version run on Linux, it's definitely better for the sake of making a quality video just to do everything in its native environment. So I'm just going to shut this one down. And what we're going to do is load up VennCAD. And today I'm going to design a lead trumpet mouthpiece with you watching along. Hopefully you can see the raw power of this software, and we can talk about some of the features that it has, which I just think are absolutely fantastic. Now, when I designed my mouthpieces with Doug, he was in control of the computer, and so everything that you're seeing me do, he was doing on my behalf. So he obviously has a much more encyclopedic knowledge of every feature of the software and how to make it, how to tweak the designs of the mouthpieces in a way that's going to make them play very well. This is, we'll get, when you work with Venture, what they do is they can offer free 3D printed prototypes of your mouthpieces, or Doug has, can make sample kits for you to test, and then you can make variations on your mouthpieces. The 3D printed ones are a very cost-effective way to do it. And then when you're happy with your design, they can literally press print on a three-dimensional CNC lathe. I think it's worth pointing out that Venture has extremely high tolerances in terms of the quality of the mouthpieces that they produce is second to none. And you won't know about it, but Venture actually make a lot of mouthpieces for other companies. So you may actually be playing a Venture mouthpiece without even knowing about it. Anyway, this is just an introduction. So let's get on, because you all know I can talk a lot. So first thing I wanted to do with this is basically describe some features and tell you something that does relate to my mouthpiece designs. Those who've ever spoken to me about the neoteric brass trumpet mouthpieces will know that I base all of my mouthpieces on the rim that comes with the Super Chops 3 mouthpiece. Now, what you're seeing here is something very much like the old Canstel comparator that I know people used to love using that a lot, and this is how it would have looked in the vertical setup on that website. It's probably a little better for our purposes to have it on the side, but this is the rim and the cup. This is our double cup design that you can see from the Super Chops 3 mouthpiece, and then the longer throat, which is quite a common Callet design feature. He back in the day, there was a point when Jerry Callet would say to people that he believed in his throat and backbore design so much that he would put one onto your mouthpiece cup and rim, and you could hear the difference in the centered tone that that this longer throat and his essentially smaller backbore design would give to you, would the improvements it would make to your mouthpiece. Anyway, so I thought I'd start off by showing the Super Chops 3 mouthpiece, and then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to load up I've got it already here, the Vincent Bach 1.5C mouthpiece, and the beauty of this is that we can overlay these two mouthpieces and see how they compare. And I think that this is particularly interesting because what you'll see here is that the rim of the Super Chops 3 mouthpiece is bigger than that of the Bach mouthpiece in both dimensions. So obviously it's overlapping and then coming forward here on the inside, because the internal diameter, if you like, or the cup diameter, you'll find all those statistics down over here. So the green one is our Super Chops 3. The cup diameter is much smaller on the Super Chops 3. It's about 0.62 inches, and the Bach is 0.67, I believe. I might be making that up. I think the reason that the cup diameter is here, so we've got 6.3 and 6.8. Okay, so both I was off by a hundredth of an inch on both designs, but there we go. So yeah, 0.63, that's going to make it more like your Warburton 7. Just, that's your comparison there. But the interesting thing about the fact that the Super Chops 3 rim is wider than the Vincent Bach on the other side, on the external, it means a few things. I mean, you can see that this is a much flatter rim. The way that this software has lined up the mouthpieces is it's demonstrating that the high point of the Callet rim, which, by the way, is actually a copy of a Dominic Calicchio mouthpiece. The high point of this rim is very, very close to that of the 1.5C, which is why this mouthpiece, one of the reasons that this mouthpiece actually doesn't feel as small as it is. There are all sorts of things. You can also notice that what we might call the bite or the alpha angle on the Callet mouthpiece is actually more pronounced. So you will feel that inside edge of the cup with your chops more, and that many would argue that would help with your articulations. It would make your attacks cleaner. But getting back to what I was trying to say, the thing that's about this external curve shows that actually when you put this mouthpiece on your face, it's going to occupy more space than what is this much larger mouthpiece. Now, I really believe in using cushion rim mouthpieces. I think that the reason that this external shape at the top here is would have a positive benefit on your chops is that it means that you don't instinctively tighten the corners in order to try and maintain structural integrity of your embouchure. So you can play with a more relaxed face. And I wouldn't like to say that it's holding your lips in position, because I don't think it's like that, but it's kind of holding your lips in position. Yeah, it's so there we go. That's just a little bit about the rim, and I think it's particularly interesting to observe this comparison, because obviously the Bach 1.5C is a bit of a staple. In fact, I haven't got it prepared, but if I was to just load up my Trumpet Planet blog here, one of my more recent posts. Now, I haven't really posted on here in quite some time, because blogging takes me much longer than making YouTube videos. But there's this blog post here, Know Your Vincent Bach Mouthpieces. I have a series of articles about Vincent Bach mouthpieces for a number of reasons. But one of what I've done with this post is I essentially just extracted a lot of data from VennCAD, and did a chart of the cup volume of these various mouthpieces. And the interesting thing that you'll observe here is that actually a 7C, which many people start off on the trumpet on a 7C, and then they think, oh, this is a really small mouthpiece, I'll get something bigger. They upsize to say let's say a 1.5C, the mouthpiece we had on the screen a minute ago. And what you'll notice is that actually the 1.5C is a smaller mouthpiece than the 7C. It may have a wider rim, but the actual volume of the cup is smaller. And I know, because I've had this conversation 100 times with trumpet players, they will go, oh, well, I play on a Bach 3C because it kind of lies between the 7 and the 1.5, so I'm not really cheating on using a small mouthpiece. But what I'm doing is, I can't really play commercial music on a 1.5C, and I want to use the same mouthpiece all the time. and so I use a 3C because I can get away with that, and I'm not going to get criticized by my peers. And it's like, oh, hang on a minute, 3C happens to be one of the smallest Vincent Bach mouthpieces, or at least of the ones that I selected for this chart. And really, even when you get into looking at things like the 11C or the 17C, they are not that different, because it's all about this three-dimensional cup volume. The other thing with the Vincent Bach mouthpieces as well is that a whole bunch of them, like the 6, the 7, the 8, they're all the same cup diameter, but the cup rim, the rim shape is different. And so the 6C is a much flatter mouthpiece than the 7, and then the 8 has got a horrendous bite. There was a period of time when I was playing on a Vincent Bach 8.5, and it would bruise my lips. It was the bite was so pronounced, and it sounded all right, but it was a painful mouthpiece to use. So yeah, the next time you're talking to somebody about Vincent Bach mouthpieces, and send them this way. My other articles on that subject, the first one is about 3,000 words, and it's just explaining the design, the various designs, and there's a little bit of opinion in there as well. And then, yes, I think I was writing this blog for years. You can see there's more than 7 years, up to 21, about 7 years worth of blog posts here. So I couldn't even tell you. I don't think I can remember what they're all about, but a lot of them are about trumpet mouthpieces, because it's not only something that interests me in a general sense, but obviously as a teacher, as an embouchure specialist, it's I need to be able to tell people in objective terms why their choices of equipment are incorrect. And so I've just done a lot of reading and a lot of research about mouthpieces over the years. I hasten to add that sticking to one mouthpiece for a long period of time is actually a really good idea. And so, although it may sound like I'm advocating experimentation, I do advocate experimentation. You'll read in this post here what I've learned from using one mouthpiece exclusively. This article here was all about the TCE RC model, which is no longer in production, and in fact I sold the last one of those very recently, so it's a little bit sad to be closing that door. Right, let's get on. I really should have checked that I have enough free space on my disk for this video, because it could get long. What we're going to do today then is we're going to design a lead trumpet mouthpiece using VennCAD, and this is how we're going to do it. What I'm going to do is load up, maybe we should just start again. Let's go new mouthpiece. We'll think of a name. Let's call it Sizzle, as a reference to our good friend, the world's #1 trumpet troll. If you don't know who I'm talking about or why the word sizzle would refer to him, then you're in a good place. You don't need to know. Okay, so what we do is we're going to load up 3 mouthpieces that I've decided are going to be the components of my fantastic design. We'll start off with the Calit Super Chops 3 because that's the rim I like. Put that one on there. Then we're going to go to Bill Chase's mouthpiece, the Shilky 6 A4A. Now, the interesting thing about these scans is that Doug's got some unique equipment for scanning mouthpieces, and I don't want to get this wrong, but I'm pretty confident that he told me that when he scans a mouthpiece, he gets about 40,000 points of data as he scans it, and so the scans are incredibly accurate. So there is our 6A4A. So you can see this again. I love just looking at this stuff, and people used to wax on about the CANSTOR comparator a lot, and it was a very valuable tool which essentially has been replaced by VennCAD now. So you can see here our Super Chops rim is broader. You've got a much higher alpha angle on the Shilky mouthpiece, and so that means that you feel the entrance to the cup much less. A little bit like the Maynard Ferguson style, but not quite so much. On the MF ones, that's even more pronounced. And then what we're going to do is, I think I want quite a standard back bore, but a lead one. So I'm going to go for the Bobby Shoe lead mouthpiece here, and I'm going to use the back bore from that. So now this looks a little bit of a mess, but you can see that this is the 3 mouthpieces overlapped, and they're quite different. So this is the thing. This is 3 mouthpieces that people would consider to be lead trumpet mouthpieces. And it just goes to show that really, I mean, it's great to see how, the Calit one overlaps both mouthpieces at these points. The purple one, the Bobby Shoe lead, is much wider, but by the looks of things, shallower than the Calit, deeper than the Shilky. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into these curves, and it's one of the things that Doug helped me with the most in designing my neoteric brass mouthpieces, because he has a lot of knowledge about how this area here, the entrance to the throat, how changing a curve at the throat entrance can have a lot of effect on the sound and feel of a mouthpiece. Now, I don't really have that specific knowledge, so it was great to talk with a genuine expert about that and get his advice. Because the design process for the TCERC, although we ended up with a really good mouthpiece, was it was an old-fashioned way of doing things, commonly known as trial and error. And a lot of trumpet design is trial and error. Yeah, there we go. And then we're going to put our mouthpiece visible as well, but at the moment you can't see it. So here's what we do next. If we go into the design tab at the top here and then click, you have to do this all in a certain order, but we're going to start off with the cup. So this screen looks very much like the last one, but we've got different controls up here. And all we're going to do is go to this button here. It says coffee reference. And I want the... Yes, we're starting with the rim, so I want the callet rim, like this. And now that we've got something, you know what, I think I've done this wrong. Yeah, so let's clear design, start again. So this is the cup. We're going to copy the Schilke 6A4A cup. We want that extremely bright Bill Chase sound. And if you look in here, there are... cup volume for the Bill Chase mouthpiece, the Schilke, is incredibly small. So the way that we talk about these cup volumes, your sort of orchestral designs are generally upwards of about this. If we take the three or four digit number here, so ignore the 0.0, but this is say 431. This is 556. Your normal classical trumpet mouthpiece is going to be about 700. Yeah, all rounder, something like your 3C. I think that was 600. That was 684 for your 3C. So that's a good, if you want an all round, the sound like an all rounder. Interestingly, looking at this, the Bach 3E, which is a good, often used for the piccolo trumpet by many players, that's got your cup volume of 547. That's cubic inches, or that's, and the 500 hundredths. If you capture my. Anyway, so yeah, looking at this one, the Super Chops 3 has got a 556, so it's actually slightly bigger cup volume than a Bach 3E. Right, next what we're going to do is we're going to graft the rim on. Now this is quite an interesting thing. I'm going to clean up this view a bit because it's, I need to see what's going on here. So what we're going to do is put the callet rim onto this cup. Now this is the fun bit, or one of the fun bits. Because what we need to do now is look at how one blends into the other. If you remember, we had this. That's not going to appear, is it? Yeah, we had this this crossover of the two mouthpieces. Sorry, what am I saying? Where the cup meets the rim, the crossover there. And what we can do with these lines. Each of these lines represents these three lines over here, and what we can do is we can start to, if I was to move this one, for example, that's going to bring our design, that's the thicker purple line, much closer out towards the callet cup. Now the reason we might want to do that is we want to maintain the feel of that cup deeper into the mouthpiece, but obviously as we're doing this we're also changing the volume of the cup slightly, and we can, if we mess around too much, we're going to end up with something that that's got a dodgy angle in the middle like that. Now that probably that doesn't make sense at all, but you can see that I could smooth that if I want. I think I've gone way too far with this, so we're gonna reset that and zoom in here, and basically this white one is our Schilke mouthpiece. They really start to depart around this point, and so let's just smooth that out a little, and then up at this end I want to I want to make it more like the original. Just oh yeah, so you can see I'm doing something dodgy here, but let's take that one up. And now, so although I'm sort of skimming through this, basically what I'm trying to do is I'm deciding how deep into the cup I want to maintain the shape of the callet rim. And so if I make that deeper, then it's going to feel more like the callet and less like the shilky. But the interesting thing is that obviously I'm affecting the cup volume and the cup shape by doing this. And so if I go too far, then it kind of defeats the purpose of what we're doing a little. And you can see again, if I broaden the cup, that's making the cup wider by moving this one here. I'm going to get that dodgy shape again, so then I have to move this one deeper, and we're getting closer and closer to our original callet cup, and that's not really what we want. So let's have this so I can actually see what's going on. I'm going to reset it one more time, and so I think what we'll do, we'll just go 0.1 here, and we're going to blend that like this. Honestly, I think that's probably enough. So we're maintaining that callet shape here. So we still get our bite. We've got a little bit of a bite, and then we've got a pretty smooth curve as it comes back to meet the old design. Yeah, I think that's better. Let's just zoom in again. So you can do this in an incredible amount of detail if you want. Really, at this point, it's just... yeah, okay, I'm going to leave it like that. Now, this is certainly, there's kind of territory where you could spend a lot of time, and you could make a number of variations of mouthpieces and test them with the, you know, with the 3D printed variations. And so here we go. This is this white line here is our mouthpiece that we've just made. Kind of looks a bit shaky around that, but you saw how I was doing that, and yeah, if I was making this mouthpiece for myself, I would spend more time smoothing out that curve and making a decision before I start about how I want it to look. But just for comparison, one last time, that is our design compared to the Shilky. So you can see I've maintained a slightly firmer bite, or a lower alpha angle, and compared to the callet, you can see that that's the point where we deviate from our design going into the other one. And that bump there really does bother me, but I'm conscious of kind of wasting your time by going back over it again. So let's leave it at that. Accept changes. That's our mouthpiece. Okay, now we need a backbore. So we're just the process continues. Now that we've done the cup and rim, you can see that you've got a little green light there, but our backbore does not exist. So let's do this. What we're going to do is, just like before, copy reference, add the Yamaha Bobby Shoe lead. Now this here is essentially all about, we can decide the length of the throat. Sorry, the length of the throat is here, and then this is the overall length of the mouthpiece. Now, my two mouthpieces that I have, the Artiste model and the Legacy model, they have different lengths because the Legacy is based upon a more traditional design, and then the Artiste is more intended for the lead playing, and it's kind of generally known that a longer, straighter backbore is going to give you the sort of desired effect for lead playing. And so if you were to put the two mouthpieces on a table, you'll notice that the Artiste model is a slightly longer mouthpiece. There are companies like AR Resonance and Monet have done a fair amount of, I'm just going to say, messing around in changing the length of their backbores. They tend to be shorter, and this actually affects the sound as well as the well, it affects the tuning. It can help to compensate for having a really massive throat, which is a design feature that I don't tend to like. Now, I'm actually going to stop this for a second and have a look at some of these statistics again. Let's get out of here. Oh, yes. Yeah, I didn't lose anything. Okay, good. So just having a look at this throat diameter. So you'll see the Callet has got 29 throat. Shilky's got the biggest throat, and you know, I don't remember what these numbers, but if you were to do a quick Google search for drill sizes, you'll be able to tell. I think yeah, I'm not going to. I don't remember any of that, but you can look up the various sizes of drills. This one here, 144, I think that's a 27, and so these are slightly smaller than 27 throat. In fact, surprisingly, the Bobby Shoe one's got a small throat. I didn't realise that. Anyway, here we go. So I'm going to keep my 27 throat. Let's try and make that happen. So copy reference, Yamaha Bobby Shoe. Cylindrical throat length. That's the thing I didn't look up. I'm going to go back. Just go back once more. So. Interestingly, the throat length isn't on that little design thing there. I was going to try and make it the same as the Jerome Callet, but you can play with that here when you're done copying someone else's work. So something really clever that that VennCAD does is oh dear, I've done something mad there, haven't I? Something clever that VennCAD does is it will suggest whether your backbore is valid, and that means that it has to balance the cup and throat in terms of you know, practical sort of dimensions. That is insane. Let's just bring that up here a little. For now, we'll leave it there. Accept changes, and we just want to bring. Let's get rid of this for a minute. Can we take the blank off? Let's just have a little zoom in on our throat area here, and we're going to compare it to some of the others. So yeah, you know, that looks pretty similar to the Shilky actually in terms of our throat length. This is completely different because it's the a double cup design, and actually you can see that the throat starts at this dot. I think we can line them up. If we line them up with the throat, that's funny. But you can see there that okay, my design is the white one, and my cylindrical throat length is still a little bit longer than the Callet. So yeah. That's a crazy, crazy design. Well, there we go. So really the last thing to do here would be to choose a blank. Now, what you'll recognize is that all of my mouthpieces use this soloist blank, which always makes me think of the Roy Stevens mouthpiece, you know, with and Maynard Ferguson had, I think it was maybe his Bell, the UK made Maynard Ferguson mouthpieces that he played on for a time, had that sort of stepped design on the outside. I really like the look of that. I think it's a classic look, and it's not so common these days. You know, you very rarely see somebody playing with a mouthpiece that looks like that, and so it just makes my product stand out a little more. But if you want to hide in an orchestra with your slightly smaller than everyone else's mouthpiece, you could just copy the Mount Vernon blank and it's good, and you could tell people that it's, you know, let's go up here and we're going to engrave on the side. I'm going to call this edit text, so we're going to call it the Neoteric Brass because it's my design, and we're going to call it the 7C. Or we're going to call it the 1C, and so nobody knows. There we go. There's our sleeper mouthpiece. We've just made an incredible screamer, Bobby Shoe back bore, the Schilke 6 A4A cup, and the Trident the Trident tested Jerome Callet Super Chops 3 rim. So what we would do at this point, I mean, obviously I should save this. Let's save it as, like you can see here, that I was working on a classical design called the Firebird. Firebird is you know, the work by Stravinsky. I haven't actually reached a conclusion about whether or not I'm going to bring that to market, but there are a few designs I've got in the works at the moment. I'm working with, in fact, I've been talking a lot with Michael Barclay from the Barclay Microphones. He's a venture artist. He has a whole range of venture mouthpieces that are made for him. Yeah, so he's really into this stuff too, and we're thinking of designing a cornet mouthpiece that's suitable for TCE, and you know, it may lead on to a classical trumpet mouthpiece, though I do see the legacy is not bad for chamber music, anyway, in terms of the sound, but I'm also thinking that, you know, we could make a cornet mouthpiece and then use a converter, and that would probably work well as a classical trumpet mouthpiece. I know some people don't like that idea, but you know, all sorts of famous players have played cornet mouthpieces with a converter in a trumpet over the years, and it does work. Anyway, that's just getting off topic. So let's call this the sizzle. There we go. And I think at this point we will, we'll bring this video to an end. But I should show you this. So we can view this mouthpiece as a 3D mock-up, and you can have a look and see. So this is our Mount Vernon blank, but it's got our super wide rim. That's a very familiar looking rim to me. I reckon that line right there is probably where that little bump was on the cup that I was saying that I wasn't too happy with. You can't see it too much zoomed out. I know it is right there, yeah. But yeah, that's what the mouthpiece would look like. That's our finished, that's our prototype there. It's fun. It's just such a powerful piece of equipment here. So yeah, this is interesting. So this chart here is talking about what's called the pop frequency. It's demonstrating to us that just like the Schilke, it's got a very it's the loudest mouthpiece on this chart. Interestingly, the Callet one is the softest. Just if you want to understand the significance of the pop frequency and amplitude, listen to the podcast with Doug McVeigh, because he explains it all. He talks a little bit about the how Vincent Bach knew a lot of this information instinctively. The Bach 3E mouthpiece has got a larger back bore on it than the 3C, because of trying to balance, to make it a brighter sound for a smaller trumpet and that sort of business. So actually, no, what I was saying was wrong. Our mouthpiece, the white one, is the brightest sounding mouthpiece, but it's not the loudest. It looks like the Schilke is a little bit, it's got just a touch more volume there, but I'm not bothered. It's an offensive mouthpiece, we all know that. So we could export this in various ways, and I think that I was under the impression that there was actually a button here where you could just click it and it would order the mouthpiece. But in any case, you could certainly save your design and email that to Doug, and he will make your mouthpiece for you. Just having a look at some of these. All of these are really nice blanks that Venture has on file. I'll just try. Oh, right. So here's one's a little bit different. This was, I think, this was a design that Doug was working on for Baroque trumpet mouthpieces, but it's quite exotic. Let's have a quick look at that in 3D. Yeah, that's cool. That's incredibly cool. And actually, you could get away with justifying that flat rim as well. That's hilarious. If I didn't mess up the cup design, I would get one of those made just for fun. Anyway, there we go. So I'll shut that down now. Get rid of this. There's the podcast, episode 54 of the Trumpet Gurus Hang podcast. And I suppose I shouldn't click off of this without pointing out that I was also interviewed for the Trumpet Gurus Hang as well about my stuff with the TCE. So that's I was on episode 81. Good stuff. If you want to listen to me talking, like you don't get enough of me talking. There we go. Thanks for watching. As always, this has been fun for me. I hope that I've managed to keep you entertained right through to the end. But please go off and design your own mouthpiece using VennCAD, even just for fun. You don't have to get it made, but you could. I think that at the moment, Doug charges for not that one, for a custom mouthpiece design. Doug charges, I think it's something in the region of, I want to say $208. Let's just double check that before I close this down. So you'll actually notice that when converted from pounds to dollars, I charge £175 for my neoteric brass mouthpieces at the moment, if you just buy one at a time. But the reason that 205, don't know where I got the number 8 from. So look, there's a mouthpiece in the Mount Vernon blank. There's all sorts of information here about the technology, but I particularly like this gold rim and cup. I got one of my mouthpieces made like that. Now it's $250. So once you make it gold, the price goes up. But yeah, the reason that my mouthpieces cost a little more is quite simply because I have to pay to import them to the UK. And so I have said to people in the past that if you want a neoteric brass mouthpiece for a little bit less, just go straight to Doug. It's really not. I would rather people be playing on good mouthpieces than making me huge amounts of profit. But if you're living in the US, it will be cheaper to buy my mouthpiece from Doug than it is to buy it from me. But, just get in touch and have a chat. And anyone who knows me well knows that I've got terrible business skills. People come to me for TCE lessons and I end up giving them my ebooks because you can't learn without them. And quite similarly, if you've had lessons and maybe bought some ebooks, I would probably give you a significant discount on a mouthpiece as well. So yeah, let's just get in touch and we'll talk about it. But one more. Actually, I've just realised just one last thing. If we pop back to neotericbrass.com and have a look at my mouthpieces, you can see that that's what the blank looks like for my mouthpieces. And as I was saying before, this one's going to be your legacy because it's slightly shorter. That's your that's the artiste model on the right there. They are beautiful mouthpieces. They are so well made. Here's the buy it button. If you want to buy them both, it's £325. I've sold a few pairs of mouthpieces. These are the only mouthpieces I use right now. I do need a cornet mouthpiece for TCE, and like I said before, and you know, I'm considering that it's probably practical for me to make an orchestral mouthpiece as well. If I do, it will have the same rim. So just as a warning there. Okay, right. Well, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. There are more TCE talks on the way. I'm doing a big series on the Super Chops material, so do check in on the channel frequently. I try to upload at least one video a week. It's often been 2 since I started with the TCE talk series. If you subscribe and hit the bell icon, then you will be notified of my... I won't go to that YouTube because I think it's logged in on my personal account. Yeah, so you'll be notified of my new videos when they come up. There we go. If you have any questions about stuff you've seen today, please get in touch. Rich@trumpetpla.net, Trumpet Planet, or chops@tonguecontrol.info. All my contact links are on my websites anyway. So have a good day. Bye for now.